Hey guys, my name is Joe, and this is my mukbang. Thank you.
Hi. So the chicken enchilada, Bunless Burger, and the bacon and egg toasted sandwich.
Looks awesome. Thanks, ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Today, we're doing a little bit of a news update like we did last week, but we're having our news update over at EnT's Cafe. EnT's Cafe has always been good to Jamily TV, and so we are trying to return the favor as best as we can in the small way that we can by letting you guys know that you need to come enjoy the food at EnT's. This is a little bit different setup. Holy cow, the rain is really coming down. Can you see how much rain is coming down back here? I'm all by my lonesome out here, nobody else is out here, which is good, because then I can talk and blab all I want without interrupting anyone else's precious lunchtime. So the three meals that we have today, let's start from I guess your right to my left. This is called the chicken enchilada. So really cool. I've never seen it before on a bed of rice like that, but really nice. Like the little hint of paprika or seasoned salt. I'm not sure which one that is. Paprika. I like that little garnish there. Smells awesome. Right here we have just a simple bacon and egg sandwich. I love this bacon and egg sandwich because it's only 12 tala. It's just a nice little light breakfast item for you guys if you're interested. And then finally, this has been my obsession for the last, I don't know, couple months. One of the servers told me about it and it's been so good. I really appreciate her like letting me in on the secret. This is called the Bunless Burger. Comes with baked taro fries, which have been seasoned with seasoned salt and maybe a little paprika also. But delicious. The thing about this Bunless Burger is that it's on a bed of like 2 eggs, and then they have meat and cheese and lettuce and more cheese and bacon and more hamburger topped with an incredible like mushroom cream sauce, and then draped over the top is another like 2 eggs or something. Man, so lucky to be able to enjoy that. So since this is my favorite, I'm gonna save that one for last a little bit. Let's get some fork and knives up in here. No, these guys, I wasn't swearing. Looks like I dropped a little bit of tomato in my... Oh yeah, who knew that tomatoes could taste even better? Add some Vaitipolo. Oh, Vaitipolo for one drink and a new the size of my head for the other drink. Ooh, chilled, that's the best. All right, I'm gonna put these to the side and go after this enchilada. I wanted to thank all you guys for joining us on the live that we did on Saturday. It's always a lot of fun for us. Hopefully you guys have some fun learning a little bit more about us. Man, this rain. So it started raining earlier today and I was like, I don't know if I want to go down and do the mukbang because I wanted to do it outside. I knew that inside would just be really full like that. And so luckily they have this little covering here that like keeps the rain off me mostly. I'm getting a little sprinkled on, but who hasn't been sprinkled on? That's apparent. Okay, so this is a little interesting here. Let's see what we got. So first off, I'd like you guys all to know that Mexican food is not my favorite food. I really am not a fan of Mexican food, but everyone says that this is delicious. What? That first bite was awesome. So it's got a sweet taste to it. That was nice, and got a nice little spicy kick. Holy cow. Yeah, I can understand why people love this thing. Even me, not being a huge fan of Mexican food, this is good. Nice and crunchy there. Some mushrooms, some onions. Take a better look. There you go. What do you think of that? Nice bed of rice. A lot of curry you can see. Again, I'm not a big fan of curry, but this is delicious. Tyson and Ara own EnT's, and they always come up with these like cool fusion dishes. Definitely one of them. Here, have a look. Yep. Flies in Samoa, I tell you, man, everywhere. Check out that bite. Oh. Been coming down pretty good for like 15 minutes, but it's been raining since yesterday. Like, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night or something. All right, this is good and delicious. Let's move on to the breakfast sandwich. As you can see, it comes with eggs, bacon, lettuce, watercress, that's this thing up here, and grilled onions. Check it out. There you go. That's a good looking sandwich. Yep, I've seen several people walk into the restaurant staring at me with the camera, but as you get used to filming, it becomes less embarrassing. Not gonna tell you like that you don't get nervous, because you're still nervous, but it gets less and less uncomfortable. Good sandwich, 12 bucks. So 12 tala, it's about $5 US. So a great sandwich, great value. Wow. We're right next to the bus depot too. All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys today about the paper. What's in the paper today? There's a lot of cool stuff in the paper I wanted to go over with you. Number one, this is news that came yesterday and reaction came today. See it in the camera. Yeah. Sorry if there's stuff in my teeth that are bothering you guys. The screen's too small for me to be able to tell if there's anything in there. Add more food. Coronavirus restrictions have been loosened. We've been able to go to church at full capacity for like 2 months now with no restrictions. It's just go to church and enjoy church again. So everyone in Samoa has been going to church. So on Sunday, they sent cops to several churches to pull people out if they had more than 100 people in their congregation, or to pull people out who were sitting closer than 2 meters apart. And as far as I can tell, there was no like warning or anything. The cops just showed up and did it. Number one, you didn't warn anybody. Number two, we don't have any coronavirus in Samoa. Why are you trying to stop the spread of something that does not exist in Samoa? I know coronavirus is real. I know people are being affected by it. For those that have been affected by it, I am so sorry for you and your family and your friends. But we don't have it in Samoa. We literally don't have it in Samoa. So why are we doing these things when we don't have it in Samoa? How are we gonna contain a virus that literally does not exist in Samoa? And I understand that maybe what we're doing is we're trying to prepare for some potential future where coronavirus is in Samoa, but it's not here. So stop trying to prevent something that's not here. We don't go through the measles guidelines anymore. Why? Because it's not here. Anyway, so this guy, his name is Luangalau Afualo Dr. Salele of the Tautua Samoa Party. He sat down with an interview with Sapir Mayron, not to be confused with Aaron, and he said that it's heavy-handed and unnecessary, and that it's not being enforced unilaterally. The reason he says that is because they didn't send police to everywhere, they just sent police to a few churches. The other thing that's kind of funny is we just opened the Vicingano Bridge. For those of you that are on Instagram, you guys saw me drive across the Vicingano Bridge for the first time, and they had a grand opening on Saturday night, and they had like 500 people there sitting right next to each other, unrelated, and they were filming the whole thing, and then they had like a laser light show that was going on, and there was no social distancing over there. And there was like 500 people, way more than 100 people, and yet they were allowed to gather, and yet churches aren't allowed to gather. Again, doesn't make any sense. Okay, moving on from there. You guys know my feelings on internal coronavirus restrictions should be completely stopped. That said, that takes us to the next story. This is what the Prime Minister says. Actually, he's talking about the Malo Uso, right? Which is where all the family jumps in to help pay for the Finalizing. He was talking on his radio program on Tuapi, and he said there's no abject poverty in Samoa. The truth is Samoa is a blessed country, but we're facing poverty because of our own pride in overdoing these Finalizing. It's either for church or village organizations, but it's really important to consider these things. I have not once seen leaders of churches stepping up to oversee this issue, but they're the ones preaching the word of God. They're not performing to do something about this to make life easier for the families like the government has done. Even with things that our government shouldn't be touching, like reducing the size and price of a box of herrings, we've done so. And then he continues to say, as an example, $1,000 contribution is sufficient instead of $100,000 contribution. I don't know what Finalizing he's going to that somebody pays 100 grand, but ugh. If people are paying $100,000 for Finalizing, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And then this is where kind of like the segue from the last one, where he says that these are the reasons why the restrictions are in place. He says, this is why the government is trying to lessen the practice of these things, and that's why the state of emergency orders are really important. So what he's saying is that the reason why the state of emergency orders are in practice right now is to stop the Finalizing, or at least slow them down so that people don't feel the need to contribute. Which, I guess if you're looking at it like that, then yeah, I mean, if that's your only reason for doing the internal coronavirus restrictions or COVID-19 restrictions, then I guess that makes sense and is a good reason for you to do that. However, he continues, and I'll show it to you, and you can pause it so that you can see that it's actually in the paper. It's this paragraph right here. Okay, so just pause it if you want to read it instead of hear it from the kingdom's mouth. It says, especially in cases where families earn very little and they have to spend on their loans and children's education, this is the part that like makes me sick and disgusted, and leave no money for the father's bottle of the evening and end up committing domestic violence. Are you serious? So because people contribute to Finalizing, it means that they don't have any money left over to pay for the father's bottle at the end of the night, and because he doesn't have alcohol at the end of the night, he commits domestic violence. That's a problem. That needs to change. That thinking right there needs to change. Number one, it's not because he doesn't have alcohol that leads him to commit domestic violence. Number two, it's because he does have the bottle that urges him to commit domestic violence. And I can't believe that he would say that. That said, maybe he's been misquoted, and I really hope that he was misquoted. Domestic violence has no place anywhere. Men should not be beating on their wives. Men should not be beating on their children. And to say that contributions to Finalizing end up meaning that there's no money for the man's drink at the end of the night means that he commits domestic violence. I guess maybe I should stop right there because Alisha's gonna edit this out anyway. It's silly, not the reason. But if you feel like your coronavirus restrictions are the reason to stop domestic violence and that we should stop doing Finalizing, malo uso stuff, then anything to stop domestic violence, I guess. Okay, so there's a couple good things in here. Lots of people are starting to like line up to run for government, which is awesome, including this guy who's kind of one of my heroes here. He's kind of like me, just kind of a little bit outspoken. He doesn't just go with the flow of everything, and he wants to make Samoa a better place. And his name, maybe you guys know him, his name is Olo. Olo has somebody that's coming in to run against him. The assistant CEO of Ministry of Health, Mae Alisha Silva. She's declared her candidacy, and Olo's like, yeah, bring it on, that's good. If I'm not doing my job, then let's vote me out and get this lady in, which is kind of cool. I'm not a fan of Mae because the Ministry of Health really bungled the measles outbreak. That does not mean that if elected, she wouldn't be a good minister. Okay, this is what I like about Olo. He said, quote, the Prime Minister often says that those joining the HRPP, which is the Prime Minister's party, Human Rights Political Party, want to eat corned beef while others that don't are eating hair and fish can. So I don't know what he's saying about that. Is he saying that like that? I don't know. I guess you can make your own inferences on what he's saying. But then he said this, quote, but let me say this. I don't want to eat corned beef while my constituency and country are eating herrings, which is the tinned fish, which is the mackerel and stuff. Continue quote. That's the difference between candidates and their preference over political parties. I joined the race to fight for what is good for the constituency and for the country, and not what's best for me. Boom, booyah, good job, Olo. Keep it up, bro. It goes against the grain a little bit, and I can appreciate that. One more follow-up on the Tiavea airport that I was talking about before. This American guy who is, let's see, an expert in international airport regulations. So he said something needs to be done about the airport because the airport in Tiavea right now is way too small. It's only 900 meters long instead of the length of the Faleolo airport, which is 2,100 meters long. And this is supposed to be a replacement. The reason why they started building the Tiavea airport was because of a study that said the Faleolo airport would be subject to winds and waves due to cyclonic events, which obviously we have cyclones here, and so we would be affected. The airport would be affected. So need to address that, right? Because it's an unfortunate reality that if the runway is too short, then obviously where are the 737 is gonna land if Faleolo is broken? Meh, I don't know what to do about that. It's kind of a silly thing, but hopefully they get it all straightened out. I don't know if there's enough available land to be purchased that can extend that runway to be 2,100 meters or 2,500 meters so that you can land some 747s instead of just the 737s. I don't know. Hopefully there is. All right, let's get into this for a minute. It comes with 2 onion rings on top, which are fried golden perfectly. Yummy, yummy. I want to show you the inside of this thing. Oh man. Here's just a, here's a first bite preview. That's the mushroom cream sauce on top with some eggs and paprika and a hamburger patty. Yep, it's called the Bunless Burger. And I think it's 28 tallah, which works out to be about $12 US. But man, second bite with the bacon, the lettuce, more cream sauce, more cheese. Third bite. This is the bed of eggs with cream sauce and cheese and bacon. So happy. But check that out. That's what you're getting for the Bunless Burger. And some taro fries. Get up there real nice and close for you. Can you snatch that out of the camera? Hopefully you can. If not, make yourself one. Thank you. Yep. The rain's really coming down and Anna just came out to check on me and make sure I'm okay. Thank you, Anna. There's a guy who's sitting just on the other side of this camera who's looking at me like I have a monkey on my face. He's been standing there for 3 minutes now, just staring at me. Who's this Balani talking to? Oh, man. I think this is my favorite dish in Samoa that someone else makes. You know, I don't know if I've told you this, but my auntie makes the best boca and palusami on the island. Man, she couldn't make it for me today, but hopefully next week. She does such a great job. The other thing that is my favorite is my own filet mignon. It's local beef from Samoa Meat Supply, and they have great beef. So supporting the local markets and making delicious stuff. So my hamburgers are probably the best on the island. My filet mignon, without a doubt, is the best steak on the island. And with filet mignon, I only cook it medium rare. If you're getting a filet mignon well done, you're getting the wrong steak. Just get rump roast for that. The point of a filet mignon is to be tender and juicy, and that's what mine is. There's still some good news in the newspaper that I want to go over with you guys, but the food is, I mean, you guys saw it. I don't have to tell you how awesome it is. I am so happy right now. There you go. That bite might be too big for my mouth, but oh, take care. Yep. Oh yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna take this for takeaway, but I got one more last story for you. Now, I'm really getting wet right now. But just so you guys know, I could definitely finish all 3 of these meals still. I think you all know that I could. Ooh, that's a good new. But I also want to be cognizant of your own time. And I appreciate you spending some time with me. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about is this. Nurses trained in dialysis pandemic response. So that's awesome. There's 40 nurses who have been selected to go through this training for dialysis because it says that between 15 and 20% of COVID-19 patients suffer from some sort of kidney failure as well. And so they're getting nurses trained. Not only are they getting them trained in order to perform the dialysis, they're also being prepared, quote, mentally and emotionally preparing to have to isolate from their families and friends should an outbreak of COVID-19 enter the hospital, as if it does, they may not be allowed to go home. That's kind of scary, thinking that doctors and nurses and stuff who are in Mototua Hospital might not be able to go home if coronavirus comes to Samoa. So even more of a reason for us to make sure to watch our borders, to use any money that we're getting from overseas to ensure that the hotels and other locations for quarantine are secure and solid, and that there are no breaches of security at those places so that we don't get coronavirus here in Samoa. Secure the borders the best you can. Those that need to get back to Samoa, help them get back to Samoa. Ensure that the quarantine locations are secured and safe and healthy and accommodating, so any coronavirus that might come to Samoa through those incoming travelers is stopped at that spot right there. And then help with some economic stimulus that would help the people that are suffering the most, namely the tourism industry. It said in the paper today that 2,000 people have lost their jobs from the hotel industry. That's a significant amount of workers that are unable to provide for their families anymore. That's really sad, and I hope that there are additional programs for them, that there's some plan for economic growth in Samoa, and I trust that there is, and I hope that if things return back to normal, that we can return to economic growth here in Samoa. Okay, I have spent way too much of your time. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today in this beautiful place that is EnT's Cafe. It's just a gorgeous place. Sitting outside today was an especially wonderful treat because they maintain their gardens so well. And man, when it rains here, it just like, it gets super cool and stuff. Like the temperature really cools down. There's a nice little breeze. It's just awesome. And then inside they have air conditioning there. So for those of you that are wondering where you should go, EnT's is definitely one of those spots to put on your list. Thank you so much for joining us today. Manuel Aso, Fa Soy Fu Fa.